Hi, everybody, and thanks for joining us for another episode of the PHNX Suns Podcast. Happy Star Wars Day to you, Gerald, and to everybody who celebrates. Hope you guys have a blast. May the 4th be with you.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to steal your thunder. You can do it again.
It's okay. It's in the past.
He's going to cry when he gets
I already
in the car.
killed it. I was trying to give you some love.
I know. You were trying to relate to one of my things. I appreciate that.
I'm excited for you.
Yes.
You did a G-rated today about Mandalorian. There's some crossover there too, right?
Yes, that'll be coming out later today, even though that season kind of sucked, but watch it anyway.
Yeah, if you're a Star Wars fan, then you watch G-rated and then you watch The Mandalorian or vice versa or whatever,
Yeah.
Have fun with it.
Exactly.
It's your day to celebrate however you want. All right, guys. So we were going to start off the show with updates
I'm doing well,
from
by the way.
practice.
Everything's good. Everything's good today.
You're not a Star Wars fan. It's not about you today.
Everything's fantastic.
It's not your
today.
day, Saul. Today is not your day.
It's all good. You usually ask how we're all
My
doing.
bad.
Today's the
May
one
the
day.
4th to me and me only.
That's cool. Cool.
Sorry, my bad. Let me try again. So how you doing?
I'm actually doing pretty good today. Thank you. Appreciate you asking. That's fantastic. Actually, one of the Serbian guys that was part of the trip or part of the DMVR trip to Serbia and that whole thing actually reached out to me and said he really loves our show and thought that you and I did a really good job after our Game 2 loss. So I appreciated that.
That was really nice of him to say.
So we have another fan in Serbia.
There we go.
Okay, so now that we're all doing good, we're all doing great. We were going to start with updates from practice, but we did just get a Woj bomb, you guys, and the chat's already talking about it. Obviously, this isn't like a huge Phoenix Suns-esque topic. It could come into play later on. Who knows? But the Milwaukee Bucks have dismissed coach Mike Budenholzer. Sources tell ESPN. He is out after the East top seed suffered a first-round loss to the Miami Heat. How you feeling about this news?
Ooh, that's it's rough because of his personal circumstances that he was dealing with in the middle of that round, losing his brother unexpectedly. That's tough. And I mean, there's never a perfect time to let somebody go. I would imagine this is definitely not the best of times. But listen, you get bounced in the first round as the top overall seed. Like, I mean, changes are going to happen. Like, people react, and Coach Bud is one of the unfortunate victims of that. And I thought he was a good coach. I know people in Milwaukee have been really hard on him. Do not like some of his questionable substitution patterns. Don't understand why certain guys aren't playing. This sounds really familiar. And so, listen, I think he'll probably end up somewhere else. I think he's a good coach, but it's a tough deal.
He's a great regular season coach, and this is the right decision for the Bucks on a basketball level. Brutal decision on a human level, given what he's gone through over the last couple of weeks. But yeah, you can't be the number 1 seed in the entire NBA, losing the first round in 5 games, even with your star player missing a couple of games in there. And we've like you said, this is very familiar because Bucks fans have had a lot of issues with his inability to make adjustments in games, with his rotations, with favoring certain guys over others. And I think it just kind of goes to show that you're not a championship caliber coach until you win one. And what I mean by that is every fan base is going to have things to nitpick and be upset about with their coach, even if you have gotten across that threshold and won a title. So something to keep in mind. We'll see what direction the Bucks go from here. The grass isn't always greener, but I think in their case, they have a roster that's built to win now and should have been the top contender for a title this year, and instead they're going home in 5 games.
I think the other thing that I take away from this that I feel like is kind of a theme for coaches that are not maximizing the potential of their rosters. You have to be able to adapt. And when I say that, I mean the type of players that are coming in are not always going to be carbon copies of the perfect player that you believe is the DNA of your franchise. Like sometimes, for instance, let's just say in the offseason, the Suns were interested in bringing in a Dillon Brooks. Now, Dillon Brooks on the surface and on paper is not the type of guy that Monty Williams would rather have inside his office or inside his space. And for that matter, maybe not even James Jones. But if that were to happen, then you have to find ways to adapt to that talent. You just convinced Terrence Ross to come in. He hasn't seen a lick of playing time, basically 5 minutes in scrub time in the end of game 2. And before that, very infrequently saw the court. TJ Warren hasn't touched the court at all in this series. These are things that if the plan does not go accordingly, you're going to have to answer for. And not only you, but also probably your GM. And I think Mike Budenholzer is one of those, is a victim of that circumstance and not being able to really explain why he thinks that, this was the way. Because when you get bounced in the first round, guess what? It clearly was not.
Did you say this is the way?
I did.
You dropped a Star Wars reference on May the 4th. Let's go.
I did.
Look at him. You made his day.
Look at them trying to relate.
This is what I do.
Stuff.
I make people happy.
So great.
Gerald's like, I feel so loved right now.
This is amazing.
They really do listen to me.
Of all the things I've ever done, he probably feels more validated right now in this moment than anything else.
I've never felt stronger.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, this is just, it is one of those things. Hello in the chat said it just kind of feels icky, like the whole Isaiah Thomas thing with the Celtics and things of that nature. And it absolutely does. But Saul, to your point, there's never a perfect time to let somebody go. Hopefully the Milwaukee Bucks at least were kind in those conversations and showed some empathy around what's going on in his personal life. I'm sure he'll bounce back. But an unfortunate situation for him. And since it was breaking news when we started, figured we'd spend a few minutes and just share some thoughts.
I mean, I would assume that if that was the plan, they probably were ready to make that change way earlier, but they didn't because of what was happening with him and his family. So you got to assume that was because usually when something happens like that, like you get bounced in the first round, it's almost immediate, or at least within the week. So they gave it a little bit of breathing time. I'm not saying that this is the perfect moment to do it, but I'll probably concede that at least.
So Mario Not Bros 2 in the chat said, if the Suns get swept, do the Suns make a coaching change? So here's the deal, Mario. When the offseason starts for the Suns, whenever that may be, come back and ask that question again, and we will absolutely talk about it. But I refuse to look towards the offseason while we are still in the middle of the playoffs. And there is a potential that we could come out on the other side of this still. I still believe it. The Suns believe it. They told us yesterday at practice, they're all bought it, and they have faith that this series can turn around. So, again, Mario, come back in the offseason and ask that same question, and we will absolutely answer it.
Devin Booker and KD right now are in the middle of the sewer pipe trying to crawl through 500 yards of crap.
Come on.
Just to come out clean on the other side. Let's hope they make it.
Lord have mercy.
That's a Shawshank reference.
We went from Star Wars to Shawshank.
All right. So, back to Suns basketball. Updates from practice. Obviously, the big one that I'm sure everyone wants to know about is Chris Paul. Did he see any time on the court today? Doesn't look like he did any court work today, Gerald. Did he?
No work on the court today. He was in the back in the weight room getting rehab stuff in, weight training, that type of thing. And his status for now remains day to day.
Doing a lot of these.
A lot of power strutting.
Gerald.
Gotta love the State Farm commercials. But no, he's still listed as day to day. We haven't gotten the injury report for tomorrow's game yet, but we'll see what his status is. I would assume it's probably going to be doubtful or questionable, if not outright. So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean I don't know how to feel about this. Saul, Gerald and I talked about this yesterday on the show. How do you feel about the Chris Paul injury and the conflicting reports, the day to day, and then will be reevaluated in a week? What are your thoughts? Do you have any gut feelings telling you he'll play in 3 or 4?
Monty and the Suns are to Chris Paul as what Ty Lue and the Clippers are to Kawhi Leonard, is my opinion. I don't think Chris Paul is coming back this series. It just looked way too significant the way he was tugging at it during the game. It wasn't just a minor thing, in my opinion, from looking at it. I don't know about you guys, but when I pull something, I usually try to rub it out, and it wouldn't go anywhere. So I would assume the Suns are probably moving forward with the thought that he won't be available for the rest of the series, or at least I think they should. It's a big loss because he's such a good manager out there on the court. He's able to try and set guys up as best as he can, and it did look like in Game 2, and we talked about it on the post game, that it looked like they were starting to finally get into a groove. And Chris Paul was starting to finally get into a groove, and they were up 8 by the time he got injured, and that was a big blow. So I mean, they're going to feel the impact while they adjust. But again, this is the opportunity for the Suns and really guys that have not stepped up so far to show that they have that ability to step up. So,
well, and also be given the opportunity to show that they can step up too.
It's just the groin. To me, the groin is far more significant than even a knee, because you have so much lateral movement in basketball, and you are testing that groin at every little step. Yeah. And that's just that's a really, really hard one to manage. Your knee, if it swells up, you can kind of control it to a certain degree, like in terms of like where you should step. Obviously, these guys usually don't play with bad knees. They sit out. But if you had to, like Joel Embiid, I feel like he's kind of on that. They can manage it. Groin, you can't really manage. Like forward, backwards, side to side, doesn't matter. You're fucked.
Yeah, well, we'll dive into some adjustments, and Chris Paul obviously being out would be a big adjustment for the Suns. But before we get into that, there was another video from practice that everyone wants to know our thoughts on, specifically Priscilla. Priscilla said, I want to know what PHNX has to say about Deandre Ayton's response to the ESPN clip. So here is DA's response.
I clapped my hands.
What did you mean by that with your response?
I just clapped my hands. It's just funny how they just pick out that one thing. I don't know what you wanted me to do right there, but yeah, things like that, it's kind of weird.
So, Gerald, you start since you were there.
Yeah, so he was asked about the clip. If you haven't seen the clip, it's the one from Game 1 where he's standing underneath the basket. Jokic is tipping it multiple times against Kevin Durant, and DA's kind of out of bounds and just watching the play develop. And so he was asked about that because ESPN posted that clip, and he commented on it. I think it was on Instagram with the clapping hands emoji. And so he was asked about that, and he was saying, I was just clapping my hands. It's just funny how they went, or how they just pick out that one thing. I don't know what you wanted me to do right there, but yeah, things like that. It's just kind of weird. So I don't want to overreact to this kind of stuff, because if you're a player that gets constantly nitpicked and they find a one play and it blows up and you're constantly being bombarded with negative comments, I can understand how that wears on you. But at the same time, I don't know whether he was asking, I don't know what you want me to do in terms of how you want me to respond on Instagram, or if he was saying, I don't know what you want me to do in terms of the play itself. Yeah. But if it's in regards to the play itself, that's concerning.
Because it's kind of like a lack of self-awareness almost.
Yes. And this is something I've tried to drive home for years now, is that there is a disconnect between who the Suns see DeAndre Ayton as and who DeAndre Ayton sees himself as. Because from 2 years ago when he said, I don't like my big man duties, and when he's constantly talked about wanting to play the 4 like he did in college, like he doesn't get it that he's a big man and that his best path to success and the team's is by doing those things and not the things that he wants to do, and that he's not really capable of doing if you think about it. So this is a little bit concerning, and it again displays that disconnect between what the Suns need from him in this series and what he thinks he's providing right now.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Again, I always go back to his days at U of A and how he did play as a 4 in that system, and he thrived, and he was every bit as dominant as you could hoped he could be. And then he got to the Suns, and they for most of his time here, they've made him play the 5. That's what you are. And clearly he didn't want to be a 5, but he is, and he hasn't been able to adjust still. And I don't know if it's really necessarily just, the position itself. I think it's just it's his motor. Like somewhere along the way, he just kind of lost his motor, because I swear, if you go back and watch every single U of A game, which I did about 3 months ago, that he played in, you don't see any semblance of this at all, except in the 3 games in the Bahamas. That's it. Because he was kind of like, meh. But here, it's like every other game. You don't know what you're going to get, and it's very frustrating. And if he can't even identify what motivates him on a day-to-day basis, I mean, we've already lost. We've already lost.
The Tesla battery comments are not looking good right now.
No.
Like, they're not, especially after that clip. And I thought, to be fair, I said this, and we all talked about this after game 2. We thought he was better in game 2 from an effort standpoint, despite the fact that Jokic got the incredible numbers that he got. I thought DA played him physically. He played him tough. Jokic just had a fantastic night because he's an MVP candidate. Like, what are you going to do? But I thought he was much more engaged in game 2, and I hope he's able to carry that forward in game 3 and not let something like this become something that gets in his head, because we know that sometimes when things get in your head, it makes it harder to concentrate on those little things. But for the most part, if you look at his playoff run as a whole right now, you know, we've talked a lot about playoff DA. Playoff DA makes a difference. He raises the Suns' ceiling. Right now, he's not playoff DA, and they need him to not only win a title, but just get out of this series and make it a series. So you're hoping we see that with the series shifting back to Phoenix, but it is concerning that his response to that is not like, yeah, that motivates me, or like, I can't believe that was me on the film or something like that. That's kind of what you would like to see, and it's the exact opposite of what he gave us.
I think that this is just my opinion, but I think the media and the fans and all that comes with being in the NBA has affected DA mentally more than I think anybody realizes.
Yes.
Because when you're in college, you don't have that to this level.
Well, not at U of A.
Right? Especially at U of A. Like, he didn't have to deal with all of this stuff where somebody is nitpicking every single thing he does and says. And so I think DA probably has this, if I were him, I would have this constant internal battle of like, what do I actually say to these people who ask me questions every single day? Because I know them. DA knows who Gerald is. He knows that you're not out to get him, but at the same time, any little thing he says could be taken out of context by the masses. So even though you might have good intentions, everybody else is going to perceive it however they want to perceive it based on their opinions of DA. And I think he really struggles with all of the other stuff that comes with being in the NBA. And I think that weighs on him a lot more than anybody is willing to admit.
I would agree, because, you know, I do feel like I feel like he does get offended by it, of course.
Yeah.
I think he does his very best to try and make it seem like it's not as big a deal as it is to him. But I honestly, like, this has happened since the day he was drafted. And mainly because since the day he was drafted, Luka being in that picture, he was always going to be compared in that draft. And obviously a lot of people second guess that draft and who the Suns should take. And even at the time, it was kind of a 50-50 split amongst fans on Luka or Ayton, right? And because of that, he had an opportunity right after that to kind of squash all that. If he had come out and balled his ass off in that first couple months, or at least hustled and done a lot of the dirty work that you need your big to do, he could have changed that narrative immediately. But because he had up and down games, like he had 17 points in his opener against the Mavs, and you were feeling pretty good because it was a double-double. He was playing a big, like, cool. And then after that, it was kind of up and down, up and down. He had a good season for a rookie, but not rookie of the year season, obviously. He wasn't like, you saw a couple flashes of dominance, but not really like consistently enough. So you couldn't really see the forest through the trees, if that makes sense. So that's where I keep going with DA, is like, he's not letting his play talk. Instead, he's trying to manufacture other things to try and make up for the fact that a lot of people are just not DA fans. And I don't know if they ever will be, because he gives them reasons to not be.
Yeah, I mean, I do want to push back on that a little bit, because I think after he was drafted, there was a lot of excitement about him, because it felt very clear when he had his pre-draft, workout here or whatever. They did an individual one for him, for Mo Bamba, for Jaren Jackson, these different guys. It was a circus on his day. It felt like preordained, like this is the guy that they're going to take. And a lot of people were excited about him. And even as recently as 2 years ago, after the finals run, the consensus was, yeah, Luka's the better individual player, but DA was the right pick for us. And now it doesn't feel that way. And it's unfortunate, because DA has been nothing but a fantastic guy to us in the media, to the fans. He's a stand-up individual. But in terms of the basketball side of things, like, I feel like now the pendulum has swung back to where it's like, yeah, we really should have picked the other guy. And we need him to have a series where he swings it back in the other direction, because we haven't had a moment like that since probably the Pelicans series, where he and Chris had to carry the Suns into the second round, basically. And he looked fantastic. It's unfortunate, because all of these skills that we've talked about, being able to dribble, having some go-to moves aside from the hook shot, these are things that have not quite developed. And we're here in year 5, and we're just kind of sitting, okay, are we going to pay max money for this skill set moving forward, especially if he's not going to do the little things like he did in that 2021 run that got us to where we were. It's a tough place to be in.
Was there any follow-up? Priscilla and a couple of people in the chat want to know, was there any follow-up to that answer, or was that kind of just let it be?
That was kind of just a let it be moment, because you could tell that he was not. You can tell when these things weigh on an athlete's mind and their response and their demeanor, and that felt like a satisfactory response after what the question was.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's an unfortunate situation to be in. I hate this all around. I hate it for us. I hate it for DA. There's no winners in this one except for maybe people who hate DA.
And also like there's people,
and that's not fun.
There's people in the chat saying like, well, it wasn't a big deal till he signed the max. I'm like, the fuck, it wasn't.
No,
we've been talking about DA for 5 years. Like it's not just now.
It got worse when he signed the max, but it had always existed.
Yeah,
100%. It existed when in his rookie season. Like it was much smaller group of people, but it just has progressively gotten worse and worse and worse.
I mean, we see it every day in our chat.
Yeah. So I don't know. Y'all got a pick of the week for me because I still have a couple free bets from that MGM.
Easy money tonight.
And I need to use them. What you got?
Easy money tonight. The Warriors are going to cover the spread against the Lakers. 6.5. Easy money. Curry's going to drop 35 at least and bury the Lakers.
Okay, so I already took that. So that's.
Did you take Curry?
No, I took
35
the spread.
Oh, you should take Curry.
I think I did a same game parlay on that's like one of the pre-mades on BetMGM where I think it was Curry over 31, LeBron over 26, and the Warriors to win. And it's a boosted odds, so it's a plus 450. Okay. So I did that.
Good.
Do you think that's a good one?
Plus 450. Those are more adventurous odds than you ever did when we were doing the betting competition.
Well, because these are bonus bets, so it's basically like playing with free money. Okay. Like you don't lose in this situation.
In second place.
But in that one, I was trying to play it a little safer because I didn't want to lose any coins. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But listen, just remember I was leading most of the time. Okay? Just remember that.
Gerald, even runner-ups get rings.
My season was not a failure, Saul.
Sure.
My season was not a failure.
Success. And we got to restep all those.
There is no failure in betting, actually. Maybe there is.
No, there is. There definitely is.
If you guys want to get in on the action and take a couple of bets for Lakers and Warriors tonight, make sure you download the BetMGM app. And when you sign up, use that bonus code PHNX. There are a few different offers depending on where you live. But for our Arizona listeners, you will get up to $100 in bonus bets on your first wager with BetMGM. Again, make sure you use that bonus code PHNX. You can check out the show notes for full details.
Somebody said, we need a coach who isn't afraid to cuss.
Listen.
Before you get there, I don't know if you've seen Obama's translator, but I am willing to be Monty's translator on this show.
That would be fantastic.
Yes.
Yeah.
Should we make that a thing for the rest of the playoffs? Anything we hear from Monty, you can translate it?
Yes.
Oh, my God.
Yes.
Let's do
that.
It.
I'm here for it. Yes.
That's
all right. We'll try and see if we can find something for you to translate for tomorrow. But real quick, listen to Shane talk about the disclaimer.
Disclaimer, 21 plus to wager. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. U.S. promotional offers not available in Washington, D.C., Mississippi, Nevada, New York, and Ontario. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Colorado, D.C., Illinois, Indiana, Louisiana, Maryland, Mississippi, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, Wyoming. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369 New York. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP Arizona, 1-800-522-4700 Kansas, Nevada, 1-800-327-5050 Massachusetts, 1-800-BETS-OFF Iowa, 1-800-270-7117 for confidential help Michigan.
So everyone seems to really like this idea. So you can't let us down.
Oh, I won't.
You can't let us down on this one.
I won't.
You piqued our interest. Now you got to deliver on this one for sure. Yeah. You know who else delivers?
I'm not shaving my head though.
That's fine. You don't have to do that. Fubo TV absolutely delivers. So we've been telling about Fubo TV for a little while now here at PHNX. I was able to use Fubo TV when I had to go on my little trip in April, and it came in so clutch. I was able to watch every single Suns game on Fubo TV, and it worked because when you're out of town, you can't even get the radio, right? Mm-hmm. So I just put my phone, I plugged it into my car so I could listen to what was going on when I was driving. When I was at the Airbnb, I was able to watch all the games. stream it directly from my phone, hook it up to the TV. It was fantastic. Like, it is probably one of my favorite apps that I've gotten in a while now, because in addition to watching Suns games, now you can watch it on ESPN or ABC. But in addition to that, they have 140 plus live channels of sports, shows, movies, news, all the things. And you can get up to 1,000 hours of cloud DVR at no extra charge, which is a boatload of hours. And the other night, so after these 2 losses, you know how everyone has their like guilty pleasure TV?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, Fubo TV is the only streaming app that I have that has my guilty pleasure TV.
Okay.
So I've been watching it the last couple of days, and it's come in real clutch. So
okay.
Law and Order SVU.
That does not surprise
Mariska
me.
Hargitay, or was that how you say her name?
Okay.
Love her.
I
thought
can't
it was
watch
Desperate
those things.
Housewives.
No, I love Desperate Housewives too, but that's not my guilty pleasure.
Oh, it should be.
No, that's just Desperate Housewives was like a little novella that I just binged for like a minute.
I was like, whoa.
That's not something I will go back to. But Law and Order SVU,
Okay.
I will go back to for Mariska herself.
I can't watch it.
Anyway,
That's
you can
scary.
watch the Suns on ESPN with Fubo TV. Use the link in the description. It is FuboTV.com/PHNX to sign up for 15% off your first month of Fubo Pro.
Also, on the new deal, that's for the Suns, you will still be able to watch the Suns on Fubo TV.
Oh, there you go, everybody. Even more of a reason.
Local channels.
What are you laughing at?
Hello in the
Girth Burner says, why is Saul laughing? I want to know too.
Hello said, the fuck is a radio? So true. So true.
Are you guys both throwing shade at Al McCoy right now? How rude.
I didn't say shit.
How rude.
First of all.
You like how you
First of
turned
all.
that one around
Yeah.
on you guys?
First of all, he's
Real
retiring
quick.
for a reason.
Oh, man.
Oh,
What?
Saul.
He's old. He's tired. He just
That's
wants to
nothing
go
do with
home.
radio.
It's kind of the same.
Okay, game 3 adjustments. We talked about Chris Paul's injury. I am under the mindset that Chris Paul is not going to play in game 3 or game 4.
Yeah.
Or
which
5,
means
or 6, or 7.
we're going to need somebody else to carry that load. And that somebody else is likely going to be Cam Payne.
Mm-hmm.
How are you guys feeling about Cam Payne?
Again, it's like a theme with this team. You never know what campaign you're going to get.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's really the theme. Outside of Devin Booker and Kevin Durant, you just have no idea what you're going to get from anybody on this team.
Mm-hmm.
So you hope he plays at a high level.
Mm-hmm.
You hope you see like good playoff Cam, but we'll see.
Yeah, the biggest thing with Cam Payne, and this, obviously you would rather have Chris Paul out there because Cam Payne's coming off an injury, and for the last 2 years, basically, he's been fairly inconsistent. But you're hoping that with the change from Chris Paul to Cam Payne in that starting lineup, you play with more tempo, you play with more pace, you attack pick and rolls with more speed coming off of them, because so far the Nuggets have done a good job with Nikola Jokic at the level in the pick and roll, and the Suns have intermittently been able to solve it. They were trending in that direction in game 2, and then Chris Paul got hurt and they didn't really know how to respond. I would assume with 3 days in between games, they have more time to plan and prepare for that. So you're hoping that Cam Payne can get downhill and put some much needed pressure on the rim, because the Suns haven't had a ton of that outside of Devin Booker. Kevin Durant was saying it at practice today. Like, we could have drove more, especially with the way that we were shooting. They were generating good shots, but they've got to attack the rim. Only got 5 free throws as well as a result. So those are things that you hope Cam Payne can come in and just by being himself add to it, because they don't want Cam Payne to try and be Chris Paul. That never goes well for them. So they need him to facilitate, play make, set the offense, but also just be himself. And I think that'll help. And he said it best. I just need to shoot better. He shot 1 for 7 in game 2. Like, make a couple of those jumpers and it's a different game. Have an average shooting night and we're heading back to Phoenix with a 1-1 split instead of down 2-0. And I think that's the biggest thing with this team is game plan wise, they were great in game 2. The results just weren't there from a shooting standpoint. They did an excellent job on Jamal Murray. They didn't let a ton of other guys beat them like they did in game 1. And I think that from a game plan strategy, it was really sound. They just need to execute better in game 3.
I would agree. I would agree with all that. Listen, 87 points is 87 points.
Yeah.
But the Nuggets only got 97. Like, if you would have told me that the Nuggets would have less than 100 points at any point in this series, I would have told you the Suns will win easily.
Yeah.
Well, the Suns should have won easily had any of the shots fallen.
Shoulda, coulda, woulda, for sure. But I think the adjustment that the Suns will also make is I would continue to do the DA thing one-on-one with Jokic. I think I don't care if he has 50. That's the way. That is the path forward. Like, you have to force everybody else to really work to get theirs, especially Jokic. And then for the Suns offensively, obviously, like, I just think that they need to play Terrence Ross and TJ Warren more. I'm not saying it's going to be an instant impact and you're going to see the results right away. But TJ Warren, when he has played at least 24, 25 minutes this year with the Suns, he's produced. He's shot over 50%. He's given you 15 to 20 points a game. Like, he's been an active guy. But the problem is he hasn't really gotten a lot of those opportunities. I think 90% of the games he's played in, he's played less than 7 minutes. How can you even get into a flow in that regard? So I hope TJ Warren gets some minutes tomorrow. I hope Terrence Ross gets some minutes tomorrow, especially when you do have the big four out, or the big three, Cam Payne and then maybe Terrence Ross, because I'm telling you, if Terrence Ross is at the top of the key or in the corner, you are less apt to double team Kevin Durant and Devin Booker on those sides, because Terrence Ross, like EJ said today, could drop 20 in a quarter on you. He can give you 50 in a game if you just let him shoot. And Terrence Ross could do exactly what KCP's doing for the Nuggets right now. So
yeah, and I mean, we should see Terrence Ross and TJ Warren. We talked about on the show yesterday. Monty said those are two guys in terms of wanting to put more offensive scores out there that he's looking towards that should see the floor in Game 3. We'll see if he sticks by his word, but we should see them out on the court. And like you said, I think it's not just enough to put them in the game, but to give them enough minutes to just get into a rhythm of some sort so they can actually help you. Because if you look at the minutes, the starters are playing insane minutes. Booker and KD, I think, are still number 1 and number 2 in minutes per game in the league. And it's hard for bench guys, especially with the way that the Suns haven't been able to work out a set bench rotation. It's hard to develop that rhythm. So they need to be on the floor enough to get in a shooting rhythm and actually help.
He's got to give them as long of a leash as he gives Landry Shamet.
Yes.
You can't put a guy in for 3 minutes and expect them to completely wow you,
right,
or else they don't see the court again for the rest of the game. That's not fair.
Right.
That's not fair by your players.
I just feel like for whatever reason, Monty just doesn't, like, you know how like sometimes they say in golf, like a course will fit your eye. Like you can see the shot because of the way the trees are lined down the fairway and all this other stuff. That's how I feel like Monty looks at his team, and he looks at specific players. Like, some of the players just don't catch his eye. They just don't fit what he thinks that they should be all about. And because of that, he's less apt to play those guys, especially if he has no history with those guys. And so, you know, I think that hurts. That hurts the Suns. Like, right now, you can't sit there and say that the Suns are a better team for not having played Terrence Ross and TJ Warren basically at all in these playoffs. You can't sit there and say that. Even against the Clippers, they were still struggling to score from time to time. They would have big moments in big quarters, but like first quarter woes, a lot of those. There were some struggles physically down the stretch of games from time to time. Like, a guy like TJ Warren, especially TJ Warren, because he can score at a variety of different levels, I just feel like it's just a missed opportunity.
Yeah. And I will say, for all this talk that we're talking about Game 3 adjustments, like, if Kevin Durant has an average shooting night,
we win Game 2.
We're not talking about any of this right now. So, like, part of it is just your star player needs to be your best player. Like, the phrase that kept being used was, this is why you get Kevin Durant every time he hit a big shot or have a dunk or whatever. This is why you get Kevin Durant. We needed that phrase in Game 2. We didn't get it. And even in Game 1, he played great on the offensive end, but he still had 7 turnovers. So we're waiting for that vintage Kevin Durant game. And I hope that we get it in Game 3, that he's had 3 days to kind of sit and stew on a performance that you know that he was not satisfied with.
I feel like right now we're looking at a situation where the top 2 of each team are who we know are going to do what they got to do, even though Jamal Murray was really just butt last game.
Which is another reason why that was so frustrating that we lost that game.
Again, but
likely not going to see him play like that the rest of the series.
Exactly. And that's the other thing that I don't think a lot of people are accounting for. He's not going to go 1 for 9 again or whatever he started off the game with. But when you're trying to make adjustments, like, you just got to be assertive about it, and you just got to attack. Like, and Aaron Gordon right now, to me, has been kind of the identity of the Nuggets from an external standpoint outside of those big two. I just feel like he's been so physical, so aggressive on both ends of the court, and he's made a big difference. And really, I just feel like he plays bully ball, kind of like Giannis does to a degree. And I feel like the team also feeds off of that as well. And the Suns have not had that guy willing to step up and do that kind of thing for them. It's only been Book and KD. Yeah. Somebody else has got to step up.
And it kind of feels like with Book and KD too, that it's like, it's Book and then it's KD. And then it's Book and then it's KD, where it'd be nice if they could find like a flow of it's Book and KD.
Yeah.
Like that would be the ultimate goal there as well. Okay, so there's a couple things from the chat that I do want to bring up. Zero said, is Shamet dating one of Monty's daughters? And here's the deal. The only reason I'm bringing this up is because I've had people in my personal life also be like, I heard Shamet was married to Monty's daughter. Like, what's up?
God bless.
So this has become a life of its own. So let's just address this for 5 seconds here. Monty said about Landry Shamet when he first joined the team that he is the type of person he would like to marry one of his daughters.
You should have seen
it. Was a character comment about Landry Shamet, and everyone has run with that since then. Everyone has run with that since then on the internet, made it a thing. So if you missed the origination of that, that is where it came from. No, as far as I know, Monty or Shamet is not dating or married to one of Monty's daughters. So I just needed to get that off my chest because, like I said, I've been asked a couple of times now, and I'm like, okay, this is becoming a legitimate rumor now, where people genuinely believe this is a thing.
To be fair, Monty does say some off-the-wall shit.
He does.
Like he said, and I quote, "You can never have too many Elfrid Paytons." That's a crazy-ass statement to make about a subpar guard. So
I just hate it here. I understand why you did it. I just hate that you had to address that.
Okay, but
all.
It needed to be said. Yeah. It did. I can't leave that out there because oh Lord have mercy. Okay, a lot of people want to know because we did bring up Cam Payne. I'm assuming Cam Payne will start. There's a couple people in the chat who are concerned that maybe Cam Payne won't start or have another idea of who should start in place of him, or maybe in place of Josh Okogie. If he's going to get the start again. What do you guys think the starting five should look like without Chris Paul in the mix?
The only acceptable answers are Cam Payne, big gap, Terrence Ross. Because if you are going to start anybody else other than Cam Payne, it needs to be a shooter, and you're putting the ball in Book's hands, in KD's hands, and letting them run the offense and just putting shooters around them.
No. So you have it here first.
It's not going to be Landry.
Torrey Craig and Josh Okogie in the starting lineup.
It can't be. It cannot be because there's just not enough spacing for that. They do too much of the same shit. You cannot do that. Cannot happen.
Are you trying to convince yourself that that's not even close to a possible solution?
He's mad at you for saying it out loud.
Yes, I am.
Oh my God.
Let me work through this moment in real time.
There's a little small part of me that hopes that happens tomorrow because I want to see Gerald's face when he sees the starting lineup.
Brother,
like, what the fuck?
It'll be Cam Payne.
This is Gerald's one day he has out of the year.
It'll be.
This is Gerald's day, Saul.
We recognize that at the top of the show.
These aren't the rotations you're looking for, Monty. Just start Cam Payne. Do that. Keep it simple. You need a point guard in the starting lineup. I know that Monty has had his doubts about Cam Payne recently. He's coming off an injury. There was that one regular season game where he was just a healthy scratch from the rotation altogether. You need a point guard. You need someone to handle the ball, to run your sets, to get downhill, to play with tempo. Put Cam Payne in the game. I know he's a defensive liability at times just because of his size, but at least he tries on that end and he can inject some energy. And look, the fan base loves Cam Payne. Like when he gets it going at home, there are a few players outside of the stars that the crowd reacts to when he's like pumping his chest and telling the crowd to get loud. Like you can use that to your advantage here in Phoenix because the Nuggets are not a good road team. They're 19-22 on the road this season. Like just keep it simple. Don't overthink this.
Also, Cam Payne in the 15 games that he did start this season wasn't terrible. He averaged 14.9 points, 7.1 assists, 2.9 rebounds. He shot just under 41% from the field and just under 39% from deep. So like as a starter, he's not terrible.
No.
Not terrible. So we're going to be okay.
He was also playing pretty good before he got injured the first time. And then obviously they had the back thing.
Yeah.
So
Okay. And then we got a super chat from Base God Flashy. Said, I said from the start it was a mistake signing Ish over Saben Lee with Chris Paul's proneness to injury. Ish doesn't fill a role we desperately need. Do you think that if Saben Lee were to have gotten that last roster spot, it would have made a difference in this situation?
I think it would help for right now. I will say that was a concern, and it's been a concern since last offseason. We talked so much about how they needed to either upgrade the backup point guard spot or get a guy that would compete with him for that job. They needed a capable third string point guard. They didn't have one going into the season. They signed Saben Lee, and he actually looked pretty great for them on his 2-way contract. Now he's not playoff eligible, and you're in a tight spot with Chris Paul getting hurt, as we said you need to brace for. You need to be prepared for that possibility because of how often it's happened. I will say hindsight is a little bit 2020 because at the time, Ish Wainwright had strung together some pretty impressive performances, and he put in his work with this team. Like, he deserved a roster spot. For me, I would have considered, I still don't understand the Dario Saric, Darius Baisley trade. It was just from a money perspective. I feel like that's the roster spot that I would have cleared out for a Saben Lee if you wanted to do that. But they needed they needed another point guard, and they don't have one now. And so now you're looking at either Book and KD taking on that duty or Landry Shamet getting minutes. And that's kind of what you're left to work with in terms of playmakers, and it's not great.
Hello in the chat says Westbrook doesn't look so bad anymore. LOL. No, he doesn't. He actually looks like, oh damn, that would be nice right about now.
He was great for the Clippers. I'll say that. And for a player, feeling wanted is a big thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
True.
It makes a big difference. Which is another a point that the chat kind of brought up, like not the exact same terms, but they said if Monty doesn't trust and believe in his bench, how is the bench supposed to believe in themselves? Right?
Yeah.
And it's the same thing about being wanted. It's like knowing that you're believed in, you're cared for, they appreciate you. It goes a long way. It really does. Anyway, if you could use a very strong margarita after that conversation, I think Gerald should. I did no such thing. If you're feeling defensive, that's on you. I can't help you.
Oh, damn. Oh, the attack.
There she goes.
The attack.
The force is with me today, guys.
Wait, was that shade?
The force is with me today. Oh,
I believe in you, Lindsay.
Oh, no.
Huh.
Oh.
What? Can
you get my shady rays? So I could throw shade at these guys? That would have been a perfect transition. I even brought them in today.
It would have
so that I could have put them on.
Hindsight's 2020.
Well, here's the thing. Top zipper.
But your site was Shady Ray.
Other top, right there, yeah. Well, ASU went really long, and so I was like, oh no, we're late. And I got stressed out. But look, there you go. For the shade that I just threw at you guys. Shady Rays. I made you stop the whole show just so I could get my sunglasses.
30 seconds I'll never get back again.
Shady Rays is amazing, you guys.
What are these sideways thumbs she's doing?
Also sunglasses.
Hey, you guys, really cool thing.
I got these glasses.
Nope. Exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays is giving out their best deal of the season. Go to shadyrays.com and use code PHNX for 50% off 2 or more pairs of polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 250,000 people. So there we go. That was a good transition. Had it actually played out really well. But about that strong margarita that I feel like we're all going to need now, Illegal Pete's is the place to go. They have happy hour from 3 to 6 p.m. every single day. The margaritas are great. The food is delightful. And right now, you can stop in either their Tucson or Tempe location for a house beer bucket for you and the whole crew. It's 5 pints for just $15. Soak up the sun with a loaded burrito and a crisp beer on the patio. Illegal Pete's, your go-to spot for burritos, buddies, and beer. All right, Saul, so you had mentioned early on in the show that you could watch Suns games, the local Suns games on Fubo TV as well. We got questions around what that's going to look like, not necessarily on like the streaming sites or whatever, but because there are now reports that Diamond Sports, the bankrupt operator of Bally Sports Arizona, has sued the Suns and the Mercury and the media partners that they announced. So what does this kind of look like or mean? I mean, essentially, at the end of the day, it's going to be about money. It's about, I mean, there's going to be a settlement to some degree for sure. Like that's what happens in these things. Diamond Sports Group is saying that they had right of first refusal in contract language and that nothing should have been negotiated until after the season was over.
But that has since been redacted in the courts for whatever reason. And so I don't know where we all lie, and nobody knows if that language actually exists or not. So we're going to find out. Eventually this stuff is going to come out out in the public space, and things will get worked out. Now, I do want to clarify something, because a lot of people were like, oh, Bally Sports Arizona, right? Bally Sports Arizona itself, right? The entity that is here in Arizona, that is running the Diamondbacks games, that did run the Suns games, runs the Coyotes games. These people here in-house have nothing to do with what is happening at the Diamond Sports Group and the lawsuit and stuff like that. I do want to be clear about that, because a lot of people were like, oh, Bally Sports Arizona. Well, they're part of the larger group and the larger entity that is Diamond Sports / Sinclair. And those are the ones that have really, tried to come after the Suns. And so it'll be interesting to see how this works out. I think at the end of the day, what I think I would predict happening is that there'll be some money exchanging hands. There'll be a good luck, good game, bye, and that'll be that. And then the Suns will resume what they were planning on doing when they announced all their stuff last week.
Could they have just avoided this by not announcing the partnership?
Well, no, because I know for a fact that, they, in the Deadspin article that was put out, I think the announcing one, what's it called?
Awful Announcing.
Yeah, they had said that Diamond Sports Group had asked the Suns to stop negotiating. So they had caught wind of it before it was even announced.
But I thought it also said in there that the Suns told them that they had gotten an offer.
Oh, I did not see that part.
And not Bally, but Diamond Sports, because it's very it's like semantics, right? Because the Suns were like, okay, the season is over because the Bally contract, as far as games they are eligible to broadcast, is over. But Bally, or Diamond Sports, was saying that it's not over until the actual season, quote unquote, is over.
It's just a stall tactic to try and figure out how if they can get more money to be able to offer up a deal. But they've had chances. They had opportunities. I think the Suns had made an offer in December that they turned down.
Right, exactly. And then that's when they said they wanted an opportunity. So they had it sounded like the Suns had given them this is our final offer. They said no. Then the Suns said, okay, well, we're in talks with this new partner, and they wanted to be able to review that and see if they wanted to match it or whatever per their contract agreement or something. And then the Suns were just like, we're good.
Basically,
kind of how it felt.
Basically, the way I view this is like a player contract negotiation, like DA, right? DA, basically the Diamond Sports Group wanted to be in the Suns position. And when DA got the max offer from Indiana, basically calling their bluff, the Suns responded. And Diamond wanted to be in the Suns position where they can respond and at least match the offer. And it sounds like maybe they didn't get that. So I will be objective in that space. But at the end of the day,
they didn't get it because the Suns, again, semantics, the Suns felt like the contract ended when Bally Sports broadcast ended, and Diamond didn't feel like the contract ended until the NBA season ended.
And the judge, from what I read, has declared that the latter was true, like that. The season does not end until the NBA season is over, according to that article. So, it is semantics, and really, so Bally Sports Arizona is in a really tough position right now, because what you're talking about is, okay, Matt Ishbia has already been stomping his feet, saying, "I want to get in front of 3 million Suns fans every single night, and I want to make this accessible." And now you have Bally Sports, who obviously by way of Diamond could find themselves maybe getting back the Suns at some point, or mucking this up some way somehow to where maybe it's still limited and it's still 800,000 people that can only watch these games, which is going to piss a lot of people off all over again, right? And so, and listen, in New Orleans, almost the same exact thing has happened. They had an opportunity to go public and go local, but they didn't. They opted to go back with Bally's, and they stay limited in how many people can watch those games. And so I applaud Matt Ishbia for taking that step. It's going to be ugly. It's going to be complex.
Matt Ishbia also said that he anticipated this kind of lawsuit or whatever to come through. So I think he's well aware that he's going to have to write a check at some point in time and then be done with it to move on. But we did get a super chat from Libertarian Sasquatch, and they said, pretty sure the Suns own the rights to their broadcast production like EJ and all those guys, right? So technically the Suns own the rights to their broadcast, but they have a broadcast partner, which is under contract, which is where all of this kind of comes into play. So they own the rights to their broadcast in the sense that they sell the commercials for the broadcast. They pick the broadcasters, they pay the broadcasters, but you still have a contract with the broadcast partner, aka Bally Sports. So if that kind of makes sense there.
Because you need a channel to stream on.
Exactly.
And that's the deal. And Bally Sports paid a fee for the rights to be able to show those games.
Right.
Instead of the Suns basically creating their own network from scratch and finding a way to be able to broadcast those games.
And the money
themselves.
difference is basically like if Bally's paid more to the Suns to quote unquote own the rights, then Bally sells the commercials, they pay the broadcasters, all that. They have more control over that. But they pay less so that the Suns still own the rights. It's all just kind of basically like different negotiation deals and things of that nature. But it gives the Suns a little bit more control over what the broadcasts look like.
That's exactly right. So like the Diamondbacks don't have the same deal with Bally Sports Arizona. The Diamondbacks, everything that is run for the Diamondbacks games is through Bally Sports Arizona. The production, everything, Bally Sports pays that. But they own all the rights, the pregame show, the postgame show, all the commercials in between. Like that's what it, whereas the Suns is completely different. So there's nuance to this and it'll get worked out. Hopefully for the betterment of Suns fans, more people will be able to see these games as a result. And that's what everybody's really hoping for.
Yes. And as Dagoon in the chat put it, rich people problems. Yeah. Absolutely. We'll keep you posted if it affects us at all in any way. That's not me telling you that you're not wealthy or rich. It's just that we all know that we're not on Matt Ishbia's level. It is what it is. Yeah. We did get a super chat from Leo. Leo, thank you for your super chat. They said, I thought Landry was going to be like Gabe Vincent for us.
Gabe Vincent's been balling out for the Heat. That would have been nice, but unfortunately, that is not the way the cookie has crumbled. So
nope. We're going to need more. We're going to need a little bit more from Landry to be able to make that.
And I do want people to brace for the possibility that he does play in Game 3 because we didn't see him in Game 2, and I thought that was the right decision. With Chris Paul out, Monty and the staff see him as a ball handler, playmaker type player that can run offense. Again, I don't agree with that, but that's how they see him. So we might see some Landry Shamet minutes off the bench. But yes, again, like we talked about, start campaign. Don't overthink that part of it.
What are you stressed about, Saul? That face looked like it was painful.
I've got a lot of issues in my life.
What's the top one?
Landry Shamet.
Oh my God. You have a good life then.
This is facts.
You have a very good life.
Listen, the toll that this man.
Stop it. Stop it.
Has put
you
on
are not the victim
on
here.
My basketball existence is just.
You are not the victim here.
It is just, it's been hard. It's hard, folks.
Oh, God.
It's hard living out here in these streets.
Unbelievable.
You poor thing. Pobrecito. Qué triste. All right, we got another super chat from Laking. Thank you for yours. Said, are the Suns too much of an isolation team with Book and KD taking turns? And does the ball need to move for the Suns to win?
1,000,000%, in my opinion. Since KD has been here, they have been far less active motion-wise than they have been, otherwise. I do feel like they have not relegated, but they have defaulted.
Regressed.
Yeah, they've defaulted to isolation basketball more often than not, and I hate it because the beauty of Suns basketball before KD. When CP3 was playing at a high level and Booker and everybody was moving, it was a constant flow, and you would see a lot of movement. And you saw that the Clippers, I thought, did a great job of getting a lot of movement in their offense because they had to. They couldn't rely on iso ball with Paul George and Kawhi, and that's why they were able to stay in games a lot, is because they were trying to wear you down. And the Suns used to do that, and they just kind of stopped. And I don't know if it's because Monty doesn't trust Kevin Durant to know all the plays yet, or if it's too complex or shit. We saw the same thing in prior years where, guys weren't getting run because, it's the system or whatever. But I don't know.
Well, I know in the playoffs, you're not no team runs as many plays because your opponent has scouted them. They know your playbook backward, frontward. And by the time you're at Game 3, Game 4 of the series, like you know what your opponent is running. So I think that's part of it. I do think that they have devolved into isolation basketball a little bit too much. They kind of overcorrected from last year where, Monty and everybody was saying we need more guys who you can swing the ball around and they can get you a bucket. Like that was the big focus with McHale and Cam Johnson coming into the year. And now they have a lot of guys like that, but they still need to run a little bit more offense because when they have run, double drag, Chicago, Spain pick and roll, all these different things that are staples of their offense, they've usually gotten pretty good results. You can't run them as often as you do in the regular season. There are going to be instances where you just need to give it to Book and KD and let them go to work, because I think heading into this series and even through this series, they're the number one isolation offense in the playoffs. So it's not like they're terrible, but they need to do a better job of making a mediocre average Denver defense work like they would in the regular season.
Mm-hmm. All right, we've got a couple more things for you guys, but first, more furniture. We love them. They hooked us up here at our offices here at PHNX, and it's fantastic, beautiful, comfortable furniture, everything you could want out of furniture. If you want to save big on the best furniture in the Valley, make sure you head to More Furniture. That is morfurniture.com to check out everything they offer. And also make sure you splurge for that white glove delivery because it's the icing on the cake. Also, our friends over at Four Peaks are doing some really cool things this month. My favorite one, it actually is happening this upcoming week, Teacher Appreciation Week. It starts on May 8th, and Four Peaks is offering you guys a chance to nominate a teacher to win some really cool prizes, from grants to Four Peaks swag, grand prize of a custom makeover of their teacher's lounge at the school. So if you have somebody that you want to nominate for this, go to 4peaks4teachers.org to nominate a teacher, or you can also donate there as well. So check it out. And for all the latest on Four Peaks and their pub, make sure you follow them at Four Peaks Brew or at Four Peaks Pub on social media to keep up with the latest at Arizona's hometown brewery. And a reminder, you do have to be 21 or older to drink Four Peaks, and we ask that you drink responsibly. So someone in the chat asked us if we had seen Devin Booker's new Converse shoes. And I can't see it. I don't know where it went, but thank you for that comment. We did. And those ones were super dope, but they sold out like within 20 minutes or something. No. But he has another shoe. Devin has all the shoes right now. Mm-hmm. So this shoe, his Nike GT Cut 2 PE, that one became available today, I believe. And when I looked earlier at like maybe 12, pretty much all the average women's sizes, so from like a 6 to an 8, were all sold out. Mm-hmm. And so whatever the equivalent of the men's size in that was also sold out. But from men's 10 to 9.5 to 11 was still available, which I feel like is a pretty average men's size shoe.
11 to 14 was out.
Yeah, the bigger sizes were all out in the men's as well. So these are pretty dope, but if you're trying to get a pair, you better hurry up.
Yeah.
Because they're selling out really fast. I think that's one of the things that we can definitely take away from the start of seeing more shoes from Devin Booker and these collabs, is that they're all going to sell out really fast. Mm. So if you want to get your hands on them, make sure you set an alarm or have a buddy who will help you get them too.
Yeah.
I just want his signature shoe already.
Yes.
So I did see on social one of those shoe accounts, because the rumor was we would get it next year.
Right.
Like next spring. Mm-hmm. But one of those shoe accounts was saying this fall.
Yep, right. 2023.
So we might be getting it sooner than later.
Yeah.
That could be a positive.
I'm here for it.
I think it said something about orange in the color as well in that article, but we'll see.
Yeah, like a Suns kind of colorway, which not surprising that it would start with that, because he's going to probably wear them.
Right.
So your first shoe should match your jersey.
For that, you definitely want to get your notifications on for that one.
Yep.
Yeah. So would you guys pick up those shoes?
These ones? Mm-hmm. Probably not. I don't really like the colors so much.
I didn't hate the colors, like, but I didn't love the shoe. I think if I were wearing them to play basketball, I would buy them. But I'm not playing basketball. So
I feel like I'd wear them on a hike more than I'd wear them on a basketball court. But
see, I would just wear like a regular. I don't know.
Well, I mean, they are they wouldn't be good hiking shoes, obviously, but like just from a color standpoint, because like that was Book said that was the whole point, was like going with desert,
the hiking
color.
theme.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looked like I was like in the middle of like a swamp area. It looked just
Oh no.
it looked dark and dingy to me. It didn't look like, an Arizona shoe.
As Priscilla puts it in the chat, they're meh.
Yeah.
They're just meh. They're not bad. They're not great. Yeah. I do have a question though, okay? Because what was the other shoe that came out like a month and a half or something ago? Had the same book logo on the tongue? Didn't it?
I don't know.
Oh, was it?
I think it was.
I thought it was, maybe it was that.
Yeah, I thought it was a GT cut.
I thought there was another one that we saw that had that, but maybe I'm
just has so many shoes now.
I know, I can't keep them straight.
I feel like Emma's been judging us based on the shoe reaction. Do you like the shoes?
Okay, here's my thing. So, the colorway, not the biggest fan of for what his goal was, personally. I think that the details on the shoe, though, like the book on the tongue, I really like that.
Okay.
I don't know why, but I really like that.
Yeah, but the book on the tongue is the simplest thing on the shoe.
That's the point, Saul.
Yeah, but the shoe was so complex that it didn't really jive with it. You disagree?
I do disagree.
I would need to see that shoe in person to be able to make a legitimate judgment on it.
But you're not buying it.
No, I wouldn't buy it. Yeah. But Jose brings up a good point. I hike in boots, ... rattlesnakes. I feel like if I were hiking, for the most part here, I would probably have on like hiking boots, not sneakers.
Again, I said like from a color standpoint, I'm not going to go hiking in these fucking things.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. You did say that. In my head, I just heard hiking and these shoes and put them together.
I'm not going to go on a hike, period.
Gerald's like, don't misquote me, Lindsay.
You're not going to see me out in these streets in the mountains hiking.
Streets and mountains.
Oh my goodness.
Only in Arizona could you go from a street to a mountain.
So. Yeah.
This is facts. We got another super chat from Leo. Thank you, Leo. Said, Lindsay, your Spanish was perfect. Saul, Gerald, your turn.
Oh, Simpera viva Telemundo. That's all I got. That's all I got.
Terrible.
That was very great, like soccer announcer.
That's all I got. Yeah, I mean,
I love that. Gerald?
No puedo hablar español.
Oh, wow. Look at you go, Gerald.
Yeah, I just said I can't speak Spanish anymore. But
proud of you guys. Okay, the last thing I wanted to bring up, this was in the comments at the very top of our show, and I just wanted to get your guys' opinion on it because we have a lot of Suns fans in the comments who were mad at DNVR because apparently they all got blocked from DNVR's chats.
Did they?
And they asked us what our approach is for blocking other opponents' fan bases because we do get some fan bases in here and some people are a little spicier than others.
You get blocked if you're not a subscriber.
Yeah, so DNVR has this, there's on YouTube, for each channel, you're able to turn on a subscriber lock. So people in your chat, if they're not subscribed for your channel for over 12 hours, they cannot comment in your chat.
Okay.
I think that's what happened because we didn't hear anything from DNVR about our fans being too rowdy.
No, I mean, and we had discussions and talked about it, and we were like, nah, fuck it. Bring them on in. Right. If the Denver fans want to come in, talk your shit. I don't care. And especially if you guys win, hey, we can deal with it as long as you're classy about it. You're not like, completely asinine. And for the most part, everybody that came over in our chats, they've been pretty good. Nobody's been a complete asshole. Yeah, and they talk their shit. That's fine. I don't care.
Right. Just keep it respectful and not personal. That's all that is required, honestly.
Listen, it is what it is. Like, if you can dish it, you better be able to take it. And Lord knows we dish it as much as anybody.
We would be hypocritical if we blocked everyone from a different fan base.
Yeah. Now, if it gets crazy, then we'll consider it. But no, we are a podcast of the people, and we want to embrace basketball fans of all teams to come into our chat. We had that experience last year with Pelicans fans, Mavs fans who came over, and some of them stuck around. Some of them are still subscribed to our channel and watch every show. Like, we love it. We encourage that to continue because at some point you're going to want to be Suns fans because it's just better.
Yeah, it's fun.
Love how you turn that at the very end.
Always.
Also,
always.
That just another little reminder there. If you haven't subscribed to this YouTube channel, you absolutely should subscribe. And also, if you're here on YouTube, on your way out, hit that thumbs up button because it helps us out a lot. And we appreciate you for doing that. Thank you all for joining us today. We'll be back tomorrow with a pre and post game show for game 3. Y'all excited? Nervous? Anxious? All of the above?
Let's do it. I'm excited.
I have no feelings.
Saul's like, I am numb.
I'm numb.
Well, hopefully he will find some excitement ahead of tomorrow's game, specifically the show part of it, but we shall see. Until then, you can follow the show on Twitter at PHNX_Suns. You can follow me at Lindsay Smith AZ. You can follow Saul at Saul_Bookman. And of course, you can follow Gerald at Gerald Bourget. Saul, you have to take us home today.
Oh, man. Every piece of food tastes better with salt, except nuggets. So just don't. Bye-bye.
Rally in the valley like Dan G, no plan B. Always on the job, my team move like the mob. Turn the beat on, I throw it down like DA on the live. Best combo since KJ, Marley, and Charles. If you squat...